knows that the worst thing that can happen to you is to lose a child. But what about if you don't actually lose your child for good, but they just get taken away from you again and again and again? What about if they get turned away from you so that even though you're finally able to be with them, they're not really there? What about if you go to court and the court says that you can speak to them every night on the phone, but when you call them, they refuse to come to the phone? What about if the court says that they can come and stay overnight, but after the influence of their other parent, they refuse to come? I'm Stephen Thompson. I'm a father of a 7-year-old boy, and I've been fighting for 5 years for his right to have a father. And I'll tell you a little bit about the story. In 2019, when we were splitting up, social services were pressuring his mother to feed him properly, and I tried to step up and be the main parent. Apparently, I broke some sort of unwritten rule which says that a man can't be the sole carer or the main carer of a child, even though they're the responsible one or the more responsible one. And so, even though I had letters from social services, even though I had messages from my family all saying that they were concerned that he wasn't being properly cared for, that he wasn't being given enough food to eat, when I tried to take over, everybody seemed to circle the wagons around Mum. They included members of my own family who had previously told me that they thought that she wasn't feeding him properly. Even the judge in my custody proceedings wouldn't let my son have a speech therapist evaluation because she didn't want to let me, as she put it, demonstrate that the mother is a bad carer. So she prevented my son having medical care in order to stop me producing evidence that he was being denied medical care by his mother. So, after social services started putting pressure on her in 2019, she took him out of the UK. She took him to Russia, where I couldn't see him for 5 months. Eventually, after a while, I got my act together, went to Russia, after which she then moved to Portugal. When we got to Portugal, to the apartment which I bought there, she locked me out. So I went to the local family court and asked for custody. I needed to have custody because I needed to make sure my son was getting the speech therapy and the proper food which he needed. And his mum wasn't letting me provide. But instead of enforcing the court order which they had passed, which gave me fairly generous amount of time, every time I tried to see my son, his mum refused, and instead of enforcing the court order, they said that I was creating conflict by insisting on seeing him. After that, they suspended my visitation for 3 years. I was only allowed to see my son in a small room with a large observation window, which reminded me very much of an interrogation room in a police station. I was very angry about that, and I made some attempts to protest, but they fell on deaf ears. Eventually, after I managed to find a good lawyer, I got these decisions changed. The Supreme Tribunal said that it was disproportionate and unreasonable to limit my contact simply because I was a concerned parent and that there was real evidence that my son did have issues which needed attention. They also said that I'm a dedicated father who never gives up and has enriched the life of my other children. That was because my eldest daughter went to the court to give evidence in my favour. She's an adult now, she's at university. So, after that, finally, after getting that decision, we were finally able to have some real quality time together. We were able to, firstly, we weren't supervised anymore, and secondly, we were allowed to have overnights. We were allowed to go to the beach. We even went horse riding and all kinds of things which we had been prevented from doing for years, and slowly we began to rebuild our relationship. My son initially told me that I couldn't be his father because I'm not Russian like his mum, but eventually he began to understand that he has two parents with different nationalities. He began to understand what I was saying in English, and we enjoyed having some all this time together. But in the last few months, things have started to go downhill. He still won't speak to me on the phone when I call him, and he refuses to come and stay the night. Also, the judge has informed us that she wants to relitigate the whole custody proceedings. Now, whereas at the beginning of the first round of custody proceedings, I had some money and I could afford a lawyer, I don't have that anymore. I've spent my money on this court case and I need help. I need to be able to either be allowed to earn a living, which means I need to have some help to move somewhere where I can make a living, or I need somebody to help pay the legal fees. So that's why I'm making this video, and that's why I'm asking, please, if you can help in any way, do so. I have on my own as long as I can, and I need help with legal expenses and just living. And it costs me every time I go to see my son. I have to take him out, I have to buy him food, and so on. His mother won't tell me what he eats at home, so it's kind of trial and error, and he's still a difficult child to feed. He's not, he hasn't grown as much as he should have done, and his English language is still not as good as it should be for a 7-year-old British child. But I do believe that he has a lot of potential, and that if I can stay in his life, then I can make sure that things improve. So that's why I'm asking for help. If you can help me in any way, I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening to me today.